So the other day I had picked up one of my clients, one of the newest clients that I've worked with. And the beauty about where I work is the fact that half the times the kids end up teaching me more than I teach them. And so hanging out with this kid, he told me about a story that really changed my life, and it really helped me appreciate the values of my life. I don't know if you are familiar with the story of the stonecutter. When I looked it up, there was a lot of different variations of it, but this is the one that best set with me. So there's a stonecutter, and every morning he woke up happy as can be, and he walked into the mountains and hew stones from rock. And every morning he would gather up his tools, put them in a sack, and hoist them over his shoulder. And he'd walk up this mountain singing a very, very happy song because he had food, he had water, and he had provisions. He had no worries. One day, the stonecutter was asked to drop off a cart full of stones, precious stones, to a merchant at his very, very beautiful villa. And as he walks into the villa, he sees all the sculptures, the tapestries. He goes into the kitchen and sees the king's table full of wine and the finest cheeses, fruits and breads. And then he looks at the merchant himself, and he has the finest threads and just a beautiful robe and garment. And for the first time in that stonecutter's life, he felt great discontent. And he thought to himself, man, I wish I was that merchant. And right at that moment, a voice from the heavens said, from now on, anything you wish will come true. And so the stonecutter looks kind of confused and perplexed, like, did I just hear that? Am I dreaming? I think we've all been there where we've heard a voice and we're like, well, did I hear that or not? And so he shrugged it off and decided to return home. Well, when he got home to his estate, there was a great giant villa where his hut used to be. And the stonecutter was overjoyed. The next morning, the stonecutter wakes up. He decides to quit his job, and he's going to live the high life because he now has all the money he needs. Goes out, buys great tapestries just like the merchant he'd seen the day before, and he goes out and buys, all the fruit and wine that he needs to his delight. And of course he gets clothes, right? When you get money, the first thing you do is you go get clothes. So he got great garments, right? Great threads. But one day, he's in his villa, and he realizes it's really hot, muggy, and I'm sweaty. And he starts to get a little frustrated with his situation. And he looks out the window and he sees the king and his soldiers coming down in a nice, beautiful carriage. And he thinks to himself, man, I wish I was a king. Because if I was in that nice, cool carriage, I wouldn't be as miserable as I am now. And just like that, he's the king in the carriage. But when he gets in the carriage, he realizes it's a lot hotter in the carriage than it was in the villa. And so he looks up and he sees the sun beaming down on the carriage. And he thinks to himself, if only I were the sun, then I wouldn't be this hot. And like that, he's the sun, beaming his rays out into the universe. But one day, in vain, he tries to break through some clouds. And to his not and prevail, he couldn't do it. And so he thought to himself, well, truly the clouds are mightier than I. I want to be a cloud. And he was a cloud. One day, the cloud obviously turns to rain and rains down upon the earth. And as it hits the earth, it starts to form a stream, and he goes nice and easy down the hill. And he's very, very content with life. Until one day he hits a boulder. A boulder? This can't be, he says. This boulder cannot be stronger than I. Well, then I want to be a boulder, he says. And just like that, he's a boulder on the side of the hillside. And just before he was able to enjoy his new shape or new form, he hears a cracking. And then he feels a great pain in his back. And he looks down. Yes, sir.
Here you go on. I want you to go back because you know this story.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Then choose your movements.
Right.
Okay. pacing, again,
Okay.
you're walking, you haven't really stood still very much.
Okay.
Give us sort of 5 minutes.
Okay.
You know, and as far as a boulder goes, you're a boulder.
Right.
You're going around,
I agree.
all right?
Yeah.
You know, so work on that.
Okay.
Just start again, add stuff.
So I'm a boulder on the side of the hillside, and before you know it, he hears a cracking noise, and then he feels a giant pain in his back, and he looks down, and there's a man taking a piece of him out of his back, and he says, "Wait, this man is more powerful than I?" And then he returns into a stonecutter who goes up into the mountains and hews stones from rocks, and is under the hot sun and pouring rain with a very, very happy song because he was content with what he had and who he was.